Actually, it's the lead play in our offense.
We ask our YN or a tight end to open up somewhere between 6 feet and 9 feet, get an isolation with the linebacker. Tell the tackle to take the defensive end if he's over him. If he's not, to drive down on the first man to his inside. If the YN has the linebacker taken out, he cuts inside. If the YN has the linebacker in, he comes all the way around. If you look at this play, what we're trying to get is a seal here and a seal here. Try to run this play in the alley.
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. You can find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Email us PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. Text us 865-658-5824. Join alongside Emilio live in Tennessee. Emilio, how we doing today, bub?
I'm all right. Happy it's
that
Friday.
Tan kicking, don't you? Get that sun on the ears?
Yeah, that's a little bit. It's been nice past couple of days, but
absolutely, man.
I'm excited it's Friday. Ready to
We're supposed to hit 78 up here on Sunday, so I'm fired up. You guys are probably in the 80s, I'm sure.
Yeah,
right?
I would think. Yeah. Time to go walk outside and look at all the dogwood trees, man.
Yeah. Oh, it's gorgeous, dude. Absolutely gorgeous. So hope everybody's having an awesome Good Friday here. And, I know we're getting ready for all the Easter weekend festivities. And, excited about that. Going to have a lot of family over, just some good food and fellowship and all that good stuff. And, want to say to anyone who – believes the way we do, happy Easter. And, for those who don't, you've got a different, belief system, whatever you want to call it. Hey, you're welcome here too. We appreciate y'all swinging through and being part of it, but everybody obviously have a good time this weekend. The weather's going to be glorious down here. There's somebody in Wisconsin right now, maybe is going, it ain't going to be up here.
Yeah, I know it. Yeah. I got to get the grill ready. We better get crank. I think I need more charcoal, honestly, but I'm excited for it.
Absolutely. And listen, I know there's going to be some folks that, you're going to be right behind us when it comes to the weather. So you're almost there, Wisconsin. I promise. Right around the corner. Hold the line. All right. Hold the line. Let's do this real quick. Let's give a quick shout out to our sponsors tonight, and that is Ticket King, the official ticket provider of Packers Total Access Live. Wisconsin-based since 1992, specializing in Packers tickets, Wisconsin's largest ticket source. They've got offices next to Lambeau Field as well as in Milwaukee. You can click on the link in the video description here that'll send you to theticketking.com, where you can register for free as a customer and get yourself ready for that May schedule release. Don't miss out on those Packers tickets this year. And I promise you, Ticket King's going to be able to save y'all some money throughout the year. Keep an eye on those. I'm telling you, if you're local to Green Bay, check with them all the way up till kickoff, man, because they're going to be able to get you some good seats for a good price. And I promise you, they're going to, like I said, save you some money from time to time. So again, that is Ticket King, the official ticket provider of Packers Total Access Live, theticketking.com. We appreciate them sponsoring the show. Now, some people are probably saying, hey, Clayton, what are we talking about tonight? Emilio would like to know too, because
I would.
Yeah, we got on here about 20 minutes early, and you would think we'd be talking about the show. Now, we were jamming out The Country Boy Can't Survive and just kind of hanging out. Then right when I hit the go live button, I said, Emilio, I'll let you know when we go live what we're going to talk
Appreciate
about.
it.
So, but we rushed home today, and I got home in time. Had an awesome supper and was like, I think I got time to put a show together. So that's why we're here. We usually take Friday nights off. So there you go. Yeah, you got that right, Chewy. Chewy said Johnson City, Tennessee, going to smell like barbecue all weekend long. You know it, buddy. You know
see just pillars of smoke behind everybody's house.
Exactly. Give a quick shout out to everybody in the chat, man. We got Greg in the house. We got United Bates, Chris Knob. We got Brent M. Let's see. Look like he finally, I think it was him. Someone said they're catching a live show for the first time. That was cool.
I just hit that here. Brian Ellis.
There you go. Brian Ellis. Good to have you in here, bub. Glad you made it live, man. It's a little bit different show when you're on here live with these knuckleheads. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, look, I know it's Easter weekend and we talked about it. Ignore the chat. Okay. It's going to get wild in there from time to time. All right.
Yeah.
We try to ignore it, but we
don't even know how the show's going to go yet. So we'll see. We'll see how this takes off.
David Mitchell, SDM40. Right. There's too many to mention, guys. I apologize. Jay, Chris N. Thank you all for swinging through. You're awesome. Todd in the house. What's up, Todd from Michigan? Good stuff. There you go.
Right.
So Yeah, we're closing in on the draft, Emilio, and I was listening to a ton of pods earlier today and having some great conversation with the PTA posse and the Patreon group there. And just a quick reminder, if you're a PTA posse member here on YouTube, go ahead and cancel that. Okay. Cancel not subscription, but cancel the membership, and you can hop over to Patreon. You can find the link in the description of this video as well. And you can just search for Packer Fan Total Access on Patreon too. But having some really good conversations over there. I'm excited about including the posse in some of the production of the show, if you will, running some things by them. We got them currently combing through and finding some of their sleeper picks so we can add them to the board and kind of evaluate them and say, okay, how do they shake out in the format I use to build my big board, that type of thing. I know I uncovered one here recently I'm really excited about. Not that the Packers would be interested in taking him, but I'm interested to see how high he goes in the draft, and that's Tyrone Tracy out of Purdue. He's kind of a running back / wide receiver. He can kind of do it all. And that's one that Greg Cosell's real big on. Ran him through the database, and he came out with a pretty decent grade, if I remember correctly. I'll see if I can find him here. I know that was one that wasn't even on my board, and I uncovered him here recently. And I'm hoping that, like I said, the PTA posse can kind of help me uncover more of those as well.
Well, that's it. How many prospects are there, right? You're not going to have enough time to get your eyes on every one of them. So definitely appreciate the help, the posse puts in, and it gets a second set of eyes even, as well. It's not just your own take, your own thoughts. You got everybody from A to Z checking it out, whatever they feel the team needs, whatever they feel the team, is going to want. And it's cool to see what everyone comes up with. And hopefully, like we've been talking about, hopefully a couple of them hit, right? Then we can get real excited. Then you got to remember whatever day we were on the pod and talking about it and call it back out, clip it up for us. But, I'm excited to see how it goes.
Absolutely. Brent.m in the chat says, hi, y'all, Packers fans since 1963. Salute, sir. You've been carrying the flag for a long time for Packer fans, and we really, really appreciate that. I love it. Anytime anyone got to experience, even if it was as a young child, to experience some of the Lombardi years, man, that's just absolutely awesome.
That is wild.
Absolutely awesome. It seems like it was so long ago, it's impossible, but it's so true. There's multiple people I met that I've sat next to at Lambeau Field that were in the stadium. I got a private tour from a guy. I can't remember his name right offhand. I've got it saved in my phone. Best tour guide I've ever had at Lambeau Field. Maybe it was because it was private this time, but just phenomenal dude. He watched several games there with his father at Lambeau Field during the Lombardi era, and just so much respect for those older fans that have put in the time and obviously been season ticket holders forever too. It's just awesome. So.
Absolutely, Clayton. I mean, dude's been a fan for what, 61 years? So
I was born in 82. Think about that.
Twice as long and some change as I've been alive. So,
right.
Like crazy.
I love it. Absolutely love it. So, yeah, I got Tyrone Tracy, running back / wide receiver hybrid. He's more of a running back. Everybody's got him listed as a running back, but from what I can gather, he's one of those pass-catching running backs as well. I've got him in the 195 spot. So just a name that kind of piqued my interest. He did come away with a RAS of over 9, so got a good little bonus there as well.
Right.
Yeah, that's, like I said, just many players that are starting to pop onto the draft board. It's really cool. So we got Carly Ray joining us now. Carly, how you doing this evening? She may be muted.
Probably hooking up the old earbuds.
I bet she is. We'll give her a second.
Appreciate the determination, Carly.
She might have said, crap, I jumped into the wrong show. I wasn't wanting to get on.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah, it was the earbud thing. Amelia was spot on.
There we go.
You doing all right this evening?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. We got some eggs from a friend that we're putting in an incubator to hatch for the kids this spring. So we just got done turning those, and yeah, it's going to be fun.
That's awesome. Absolutely awesome.
Having chickens to take care of is the best, man. Seeing them things grow up, it really is. You can just hang out with them, man, and then they get too big, then they run away. It's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we got some news that broke today. I guess you could call it news. The offseason schedule dropped. Rob Demovsky tweeted this out, said, per the NFL, here's the Packers offseason schedule minus the rookie minicamp, which is typically the weekend after the draft. First day of practice is April 15th. We talked about that. April 1st, if I remember correctly, for teams with new head coaches. But those who have existing or returning head coaches, I should say, they can start that off-season program on April 15th. So, yeah, you can see we're just really a little over a couple weeks away from the Packers kind of reporting some of those guys getting there and putting in work on April 15th. Now, the OTA off-season workouts will be May 20th and 21st, May 23rd, then back for May 28th, 29th, May 31st, and then June 3rd and 4th and June 6th. So to kind of paint you guys a little picture of what the offseason is going to look like here. Free agency, don't be surprised if the Packers sign another free agent or two, right? These are going to be the bargain deals on the backside. Obviously, Goody's staff is working diligently to get their draft board finalized. They're going to have multiple boards, I'm sure, with different scenarios, things like that. So they're putting all that stuff together. The players are going to come in and start the offseason program on April 15th. And then it's literally, 10 days later is the draft. And then as soon as the draft wraps up, right, we're going to be diving into college tape of the new draft picks, kind of get a feel for what they're going to be this season, or at least the way they may be deployed within the Packers offense and defense. And then May 20th, 21st and 23rd, they're going to be right back in the building for some OTA stuff. Same thing in June. We're going to be off to the races. It's going to be absolutely awesome. So all that stuff's right around the corner. And then you got mandatory mini camp starting, or it's actually June 11th through the 13th. Then, of course, in July, you'll have training camps. So our goal, gang, is to make this off season go as quick as possible for y'all. We want to not just try to fill time, talking about just random stuff. We want to there's a lot of that going on right now. I know you laughed, Emilio, but man, some of the conversations that's going to take place on these podcasts, it's skip. I got the button on my earbud. Skip ahead of this one. Skip ahead.
Mine just broke. I had to super glue it, so now I can't skip forward. I can only go backwards, so now I'm screwed.
So we're going to try to bring you guys, what's the Packers front office thinking about right now throughout this whole offseason, and we'll try to hit on some of those topics. And that's why we're focusing on the draft right now, finalizing our board, looking for some of these later round gems, right? Just trying to compile all the data and get our draft board ready, so we'll be ready for come draft night there. And by the way, I do want to mention that any member of the PTA posse there on Patreon, we will be putting everyone's name into a drawing for an autographed Paul Hornung jersey on draft night as well. So get ready for that. That's going to be really cool to do our first giveaway since starting the Patreon group there. So this came across the wire a couple of days ago. Let's see here. It was Tom Silverstein had quote tweeted Eric Upton. Eric Upton on Twitter said, "This is quite the stat. Packers GM Brian Gutekunst's last two drafts have produced 10 starters. Those 10 starters will count less than $4 million against the cap this season." And of course, Tom Silverstein quote tweeted and said less than $4 million per man, not combined, which I think we all understood that, but I'm glad he put that out there too, and it was cool for him to share that tweet as well. So that kind of got me digging into the salary cap just a touch, and let's kind of look at some of these players that are really low on the cap, that less than $4 million we're talking about. And right at the top of the list, Lucas Van Ness, cap hit this year is $3.9 million. Eric Stokes is $3.7 million. Quay Walker is $3.7 million. Devontae Wyatt, $3.5 million. So obviously Eric Stokes was drafted 2 years ago, so he wasn't included in that 10. But Lucas Van Ness, Quay Walker, Devontae Wyatt all were. Josh Myers, $3.4 million. Royce Newman, $3.2 million. TJ Slayton, $3.1 million. Christian Watson definitely fell into that 10, that list of 10 at $2.5 million. Corey Ballantyne, $2 million. Luke Musgrave in his second year was on that list, $1.9 million cap hit for Luke Musgrave. Jaden Reed, $1.6 million. Sean Ryan, $1.3 million. A.J. Dillon, obviously not on the list, but he's back at a cap hit right now of 1.2. You see the number over to the far left, potential of 2.5 million there on his.
John Deere green on a hot summer night. He rode Billy Bob loves Charlene.
I'm so excited to have that dude back, man.
Needed that.
Absolutely awesome. Tucker Kraft, $1.2 million. Think of the snaps he played last year, guys. He didn't have a single drop until the playoff game against the 49ers, I believe it was. And I don't even know if it was considered a drop. Tucker Kraft, $1.2 million. Romeo Dobbs, $1.1 million. Eric Wilson, $1.1 million. Matthew Orzik, $1.1 million. And Zach Tom, $1.1 million. Zach Tom at $1.1 million is just mind-boggling.
Can we get him on a contract now? Like, what are our options with that, right?
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming like a freight train. The rule is you can't even negotiate a new contract until you've been in the league 2 years, if I remember correctly. So I guess this coming year they can start negotiating, but you don't want to rush it. Of course, if you do approach it sooner rather than later, knowing that he's the guy, you might be able to save you some money in the long run too, right? You might be able to go to him a little early, like, hey, man, we like what we see. Let's put some change in your pocket. But when you look at that list there, it's pretty promising, man. This is how you play the cash over cap game. You got to hit on the draft picks, right, to round out the roster. Now Goody's starting to clean the cap up a bit and get a little bit away from the cash over cap game and try to open this window up to potentially compete for a Super Bowl. What do you think about those numbers, though, Amelia?
I think it's wild because not only the starters, but, major players are in that group as well. Like that entire list, to me, looking at it, looks like our whole team, right? Like it's everybody that's on the field. It is literally everybody on the field. So I'm excited. I don't see how Goody, pulled it off, but I'm so glad he did because we are very, very lucky. Obviously, at some point, we're going to have to pay these guys. But right now, we just kind of need to take advantage. If we can make a run while it's cheap, I don't think that's a bad idea, right? And I think that's where Goody's just stocking up on picks. Say, let's keep doing this. Let's keep it rolling, and let's try to bring one home for the draft. I think that's the approach.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think, Carly? Pretty good numbers here on the cap hit, right?
Yeah, I love that. I love that idea. I love the idea of going for it right now. And obviously this is great. But then also what you said, Emilio, of like, yeah, these guys are going to want to get paid. And I am already like, just after what happened with Rasul and all that, like, I'm just already like so sad for the future when all these guys that I love I know they're going to be gone because there's not going to keep all of them. And it's like, right. I'm already prepping myself for the heartbreak, guys.
That is tough.
Part of the business. And really what you've got to do is you've got to prioritize certain positions and make sure that you keep the backbone of the roster strong in those spots. It starts with quarterback, right? Quarterback and left tackle are the most important. That's why, again, I think Rasheed Walker did well. For a 7th-round pick, he did phenomenal.
Right.
If you can land a franchise left tackle, you button that position up with a rookie contract, and you still got Rasheed Walker as a swing tackle. Who knows? He may beat the guy out and you push him over to right tackle, slide Tom to guard, whatever, and kind of, fill two holes at one time there with one pick. So, again, Rasheed Walker could take a huge step this year too. He graded out over 60, right? We talked about that. I think it was 65, something like that, where he graded out. So if he takes another step and grades out in the 70s, you've got your left tackle of the future. There's no doubt about it. I'm just saying if the right guy falls, it could definitely be something that makes a lot of sense there. Donald in the chat says, after hearing Andy Herman's pod, I'm fully convinced pick 25 will either be DeJean or offensive lineman. Okay. And then Doug goes on to say, I just don't see DeJean or DeJean. Some people are saying DeJean. Some people are saying DeJean being around at 25. I don't think he's going to be there at 25 either, Doug, at least from the mocks that I'm seeing. The other thing, too, going back to the original comment there, as far as Andy Herman's pod and convinced him about taking offensive line, I'm hearing defensive line a lot now. So I listened to Fox Sports Podcast where they did a mock draft. Guess who they took? My boy Byron Murphy from Texas. I was fist pumping in the air. I almost wrecked the mower today, Amelia. I was so fired up, bro. I was like, give me Byron Murphy next to Kenny Clark in the middle of that defense. You've got Devontae Wyatt coming in off the bench. You've got, Carl Brooks coming off the bench. Chances are those guys will beat a Byron Murphy out. But look how deep, look how strong that defensive line would be if you took someone like Byron Murphy. It's all going to come down to who's the best prospect available when you pick, right? That's the number one goal. So let's see here. Chris in the chat says Friday episodes deserve 100% likes and shares. Completely agree, Chris. If you guys would hit that like button for us so other Packer fans can find this channel, find this content. We appreciate that, Chris. Thank y'all for hanging out here. This is kind of a surprise going live, and it's pretty cool. We got over 200 people hanging out in here. Pretty cool stuff there. So, and I know we're live on Rumble as well. We got a lot of people that's been watching in there, getting good feedback in that regard. So appreciate y'all, like I said, making us a part of your evening. Chris goes on and says, I want to personally apologize to Clayton on Patreon for going too into the whole Brallan Allen thing. I just wish that guy all the best because he gave us the best on the field. You know, Chris, I didn't think you were inappropriate at all, man. That's one of your guys, dude. Talk
right.
You know?
Yeah, he's standing on the mountain for him.
Absolutely, man.
Someone's got to do it, right?
Yeah.
So
now, if I'm going to give my personal opinion, and again, this doesn't mean I'm right and Chris is wrong or anything like that. What I'm hearing is he's a big back that doesn't play big. That's the only knock that I've really heard on him, right? Now, you guys know on my board, he came in, I think he was in a fairly decent spot. I'll see if I can run him down here real quick. Yeah, I've got him at 133, you know. The 33rd team has him at 109. And let's see here, the consensus big board, when I took that in, had him at 84, right? The big thing is the PFF grades for me, right? They're not like jump off the page. Now, I understand PFF isn't everything. The other thing was I heard Greg Cosell talking about him, and Greg Cosell said those exact words. He said, the thing I see about Brallan is it's like he doesn't realize just how big he is. He's a big back that doesn't play like a big back. Now, you got to keep in mind, too, if I understood correctly, and Chris, you correct me if I'm wrong, I think he came in to Wisconsin as a linebacker. So he's still a little bit green at running back, which means you probably haven't even seen the best of him yet, right? So I'm not anti-Brallan Allen. I'm not. I do make comments, and you'll hear me make it about Kentucky and Notre Dame as well, right? Like Carrington Valentine. I'm critical of Carrington Valentine. I'm a Kentucky fan, man. I want him to pan out. I always ask people if Brallan Allen wasn't a Wisconsin Badger, would you still feel that way? There's been several people that said, yeah, I would. Great. Awesome. I just want to make sure us as a podcast community here at PTA is like, let's remove our bias, right? And that's your dude, man. You stand on that mountain for him, bro. But what do you think about Brallan Allen as far as how you see him? I don't know how much of Brallan Allen you've watched or what have you, but again, anytime you take a hometown guy, you know, a Wisconsin Badger, I think it's good for the Packers. I do. But what do you think about Brallan?
I mean, the first thing you said was, you know, he's a big back that doesn't run big, right? That doesn't run strong. And weren't people saying that about AJ Dillon, right? So for the longest time, we've had a big back that didn't run big, right? So I wouldn't love dipping our toes into another one, but again, I haven't really watched them, so that's on me. I gotta cut out some time to check the film, but I wouldn't be opposed to a big guy that can move, right? Because that's Matt LaFleur's scheme. But if we want someone that's gonna be a thumper, I know he's already got a good amount of carries on him, right? You know, the treads are a little worn, so and. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't be willing to really, take that shot so early is my other problem.
I kind of feel like that with all the backs, to be honest with you. Like, Trey Benson is hands down my favorite back in this draft. And I'm not sitting here going, hey, let's take him in the second round, right? But, yeah, Chris, don't ever apologize for your opinion, bub. As long as we're keeping it respectful, man, everybody's opinion is welcome on here.
I'm sorry.
Again, he may come in to light it up. What's that?
Magic had me laughing. Lacey ran big and
Magic in the chat says Lacey ran big until he ran to the kitchen. I'll tell you this, bub. Lacey was one of the players that I enjoyed the most.
I loved him.
Yeah. And the fact that he couldn't control his weight, this guy right here relates to that 100%. Lacey just seems like just one of the nicest human beings on the face of the earth.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Doug Pointer said this about Brallan Allen. He said, well, he can block.
Oh, no, Tim.
We need Tim in here, man. You got to get Tim.
There it is.
You got it. Let's see here. Oh, you got it on loop. I like
it. Fixed it. See, Tim's not here.
This thing goes off the rails when the producer ain't in. United Bates says, I had chickens for a while. They were the best. There you go. United Bates bringing that chicken knowledge in the chat. You never know what you're going to get here on PTA, especially on a Friday night. Let's see. Doug says the Jets did a trade today with a 67.5% regular season snap determinant for the draft pick involved. Interesting.
That's not bad. You know what that is?
65%.
65%. That's what we
Two more than 65%.
It's 2.5, man. 2.5. Ron Sample says offseason has been fun so far. Glad I found this spot. Glad you're enjoying it, Ron. It sounds silly, and you probably think we're just BSing, but the chat, everybody we've connected with on social media, YouTube, X, everything, you guys make it just as enjoyable for us. I promise you that, man.
Right.
It makes the off season go by so much quicker, man. No doubt about it. So, all right, let's do this. Carly, you chime in at any point. You got anything to say? All right, we're just going to roll here. And if there's something, you got a question, you got a comment, you want to disagree, you just let us know.
I'm actually trying to find a finger picture to send to you to use, because I screenshotted one and I'm trying to figure out how to upload it so you can use it.
We got you one right here. You ain't got to worry about it. There.
Oh my gosh, no, not that one.
All right.
Oh, you're what you want?
No, that sounds good.
You want?
Oh my god, no.
It's your fault, Carly. You asked. All right. Let's see.
Anyway, all right, I will. I'm here. Gotcha.
All right, cool. Daniel Jeremiah today had a couple tweets. I think they were both today. This was kind of interesting to me. And this time of year, again, I tweeted out a question to Packer fans. Hey, what do you think the Vikings are going to do about quarterback? And, we had a couple smart alecks go, who cares? I think anyone who has two brain cells to rub together understands the quarterback drives the draft. And the goal is, okay, how many quarterbacks are going to be taken? That's going to determine how many people are going to fall to us. It's just ironic that the same people that get upset when you talk about that stuff, they're the ones who go, just take a good player. Who cares? All right, I got you. Go do another keg stand and pretend like you know what the hell you're talking about. And we'll continue to talk about the stuff that matters. But nonetheless, Daniel Jeremiah on Twitter, one of my favorite draft follows. If you guys aren't following him, follow @MoveTheSticks, former scout, just an awesome human being, great dude. Does a great job covering the draft for NFL Network. I'm sure you know who he is by now. He says, I wake up every day with a different feeling on top 5 offensive tackles, all good players with different strengths. I'm sure teams are having equally difficult time landing on their final order. That really kind of piqued my interest a little bit, Emilio. And I was thinking, what does it look like? What does the consensus big board look like when it comes to your offensive tackles this year? So I thought we would pull that up real quick and just kind of see how it does look. If you'll give me just a second, let me make sure we get this squared away just right here. Yeah, we're signed in. We're good. They're all right, cool. So let's go to the consensus big board itself, and I want to see exactly where the tackles sit in this draft. So just make sure that we can see this all right. Bang. So when he talks about this, when you hear draft experts talk about this type of stuff, right, and he's talking about, I'm having a hard time determining who are the best tackles in the draft, and other teams probably are too. When he says tackles 1 through 5, here's where the consensus big board sits right now. Joe Alt in the number 8 spot, Fashanu from Penn State in number 14, Fuaga 15, J.C. Latham 19, Troy Fontana 22, and Amarius Mims at 23. Okay, so that gives you the top 6 there. So when he's saying you don't know who the top 5 are, if you were to go down 5 more, starting with Mims, you got Tyler Guyton, 29, Jordan Morgan, 35, Kingsley Suamataia, I think is how you say it, 41. Then it drops down about 25 spots to Patrick Paul. So it kind of looks like, according to the consensus big board, those are the guys you're talking about all the way down to 41. But look how close they are ranked to each other. Just 6 points or 6 spots apart, right? 6 spots apart, 6 spots apart, 1 spot apart, 3 spots apart, 4, 1, and then another 6, right? So these guys are kind of tucked in there together. If you were to think, okay, the Packers, if they were to take one of these top 5, top 6 guys, who could potentially fall? It starts with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do you think Mims and Guyton or Morgan from Arizona is just as good as some of these top 5 guys? In my opinion, man, Joe Alt is hands down better than every other tackle in this draft. I think I've got him. Let me take a quick glance here at my draft board. I've got Joe Alt as the 3rd best prospect. He's sitting, in the number 3 spot out of Notre Dame. So they've got him at 8. I've got him at 3. And you can see the consensus big board at one point had him peaked at the 1 spot. But what do you think about tackle? Anything stick out to you there, Emilio?
Well, just comparing real quick to PFF's board, they have Joel at number 5, Fuaga at 12, Fontenot at 14, Fashanu at 18, J.C. Latham at 19, Mims at 22, and then Graham Barton at 25, and Tyler Guyton at 30, and then Jordan Morgan at 40. So, but going back to when we talked about it earlier, I think I'm out on Mims being a tackle unless he's immediately going to go to the right side, but he doesn't have a bunch of snaps. He's really an athlete. He's a brick wall. He's a tower there, but not something that I think I'd be in on. I would be more in on something like Latham maybe, or Fuaga, but Fontenot, something like that, where he would kind of maybe fall to us. But again, I still like Barton, right? And after Paul came on yesterday, was talking about the pro day, man, he tore it up. So I would be totally fine with that as well.
Yeah. Jake Shavink in the chat says tackle is tough. Fontenot is so good. Fashanu and Mims have absurdly high ceilings. Fuaga might be a guard, honestly. Latham is impressive too. It sounds like Jake's having the same problem that Daniel Jeremiah is, man. And it's just like, any given day you might feel like one leapfrogs the other. Outside of Alt, it kind of feels like it's Alt and everyone else. And everyone else could turn out to be really good pros, right? That's at least the way it seems on the surface. Let's see what else we got here in the chat real quick. SDM40 said, Wall wasn't as impressed with DeJean as most, sees him as a safety. It's funny you mentioned that because you guys know I'm not a big Mel Kiper fan, right?
Who in the hell is Mel Kiper in a way?
In a way,
I agree with Bill Tobin there. No, but listen, he's been covering the draft for a long time, and he said hands down, DeJean, if DeJean came in the league as a safety, he would hands down be the best safety in this class, right? Now, I trust Mike Wall's judgment too. That dude has been evaluating players for a long time. He works with offensive linemen over at Process to Perform. Just does a ton of stuff still around the game. Obviously knows what he's talking about. He's been there, done that. You never see Mel Kiper, pull out of the power eye and smack a linebacker in the mouth. You know what I'm saying, Emilio? Mm-hmm. He knows. Yeah. I want to get Mike on to ask him about these linebackers before the draft, because I want to say from an offensive lineman standpoint, and one that specifically in that power running game there under Mike Sherman in the early 2000s, you had to face linebackers. You had to pull, over 2 gaps and hit the hole and really smack a linebacker in the mouth. Who do you see in this linebacking core as far as this rookie class, I should say? Right. I'd love to get his take on that. But as far as man, I'm not as big on him as most people, but I've got him in the 29 spot, which would definitely be worthy of the 25th pick. Go ahead, Miller.
Right. No, I would, hey, if he fell to us, I wouldn't be opposed to taking him, right? He's an athlete. We talked about it. He's he set records in his state and all that. So the dude is athletic. But going back to Mike Wall, I was going to ask you, what do you think? Do you think he just started licking his chops when he heard a trap play come up, and he was like, dude, I get to absolutely ear hole this dude, and he has no idea it's coming.
Yeah. Carly, I see you in the chat there. She says, I'm back. StreamYard hates me right now. It says device not connected, so it won't let us add you right now for some reason. So,
man, we need Carly. I need to get a refill. I'll be right back.
Yeah, go ahead, bro. You good. Try exiting and coming back in if you can, Carly. That might fix it, but it won't let me add you right now. It just says device not connected. The only option it gives is to kick you out. I don't want to do that because it might ban you. That would suck. So let's see what else we got here in the chat. Deadfish says, one reason our offense was so good down the stretch was the O-line was able to give J Love time. Got to make sure we got a good line in front of him. We lost 2 left tackles and a right guard. Got to get replacements. Yeah, it's important just to keep that offensive line, solid. And here's the thing too, like there was many people, and I didn't want to argue about this on Twitter. I really didn't. So I tried to stay out of it. When we signed Josh Jacobs, you really had 2 different groups. You had one group that was going, hey, he wasn't that great last year. And you had the other, it was like their offensive line was horrible. Guys, newsflash, our offensive line wasn't great at run blocking last year. It just wasn't. We could show you can go watch the tape. You can look at the grades. I think we graded out as, I can't remember what it was. It was like 12th. I think it was 12th from the bottom as far as run blocking. We were in the bottom third in run blocking according to PFF run blocking grades. And when you look at it, when you turn on the tape, you can see, man, they're getting beat. When I say they, the two big suspects for me, and I don't mean to pile on here or pick on anybody, but it was John Runyon Jr. and it was Josh Myers. Those were the two guys that just kept getting turned around and couldn't get their feet underneath them in the run blocking game. So my thing was, okay, yeah, Josh Jacobs had a bad offensive line. He was running behind last year, but the line wasn't that much better in Green Bay. What makes us think he's just going to return to 2022 form if our O-line isn't that much better? That's why I'm really kind of digging into the O-line a little bit. Like, hey, we at least need to get right guard fixed, right? If you want to try to give Josh Myers another year, I got you. I'm not a big fan of that. I think we should try to find that replacement now, whether it's Jackson Powers Johnson falling to us, or you potentially drafting a stud right tackle and being able to put Zach Tom at center. That's a move you make in the offseason. Once we get to training camp, you're not going to hear me say, all right, yeah, let's move Tom. Like, that's something, the decision has to be made. He has to start getting his body right. He has to start getting the training in before you get to camp. That way you can kind of move forward in that direction instead of just last second, all right, now we're going to make this switch. That's where you get in trouble and you kind of fire up the merry-go-round. So I'm with you, Debfish. I think the O-line does need some help, no doubt about it. Let's see here. Doug Pointer in the chat says, Kyron from Yale seems to fit into my draft strategy nicely. I believe his PFF scores were outstanding. So when you do me a favor, guys, when you comment in the chat like this, I'm not the best at draft coverage. Obviously, you guys, you're telling me, Clayton. But when you mention a player, say their name and their position, and that'll be a little bit easier for me to find my board and kind of give you guys an idea, because Kyron could be the first name, could be the last name, but also the position will help narrow it down as well.
So I got Kyron Amagaji from Yale, 6'5", 318, senior. He's a tackle. The bottom line, projecting a player to go from the FCS level to the NFL level as a starter is tricky, but Amagaji has the tools and the tape to be a worthwhile investment in the top 50 as a starting caliber tackle. And he was 89.5 last year as PFF grade, but he only had 230 snaps. And he played left tackle the year before at about 660 snaps. And then he played left guard the year prior at 669.
Got it. Yeah, I've got Amagaji in the 49 spot on my board.
Right. So what if he can double up, right? What if he gets maybe a tackle and a guard or two tackles, and he's like, all right, now we can move Tom inside and we feel good about it. We saw that with 25-41. So that's also an option. Yeah. And that's why, thank you, Jake. I appreciate you trying to point it out there for us, buddy. That's why Graham Barton is so appealing, right? And when you heard Paul Bretto, who was on with us last night, say the same thing, because he's got that versatility, right? He could play center, right? I think you can kind of rule him out. And Jake, you correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, bub, but you could kind of rule him out playing tackle. Not that he can't, but I think it's the arm length that was an issue. I may be getting him mixed up with someone else. Barton?
Yeah, for Barton, it seems like that was something that was like he's probably more of a guard, but he has played he can play every position on the line. It's just you would probably want him inside. I believe it was because of arm length, if I remember correctly. But we'll see if Jake chimes in on that for sure.
He is 6'5", 314. Yeah, they said his best position in the NFL is likely at center. He brings the starting caliber traits there.
Gotcha.
So, and I mean, he came in as a tackle, but can play all over.
My guess is if he had longer arms, that dude probably would be a slam dunk tackle. It's just, that is something that is important, right? Definitely.
But he has only played left tackle the past 3 years, 492 this past year, 895 and 747 the year prior, all at left tackle.
Gotcha.
So yes, he can. Right. So he's a good offensive lineman, but like they said, inside more likely.
Yeah. Jake Shavink says, when DNs get to the long arm against Barton, it's tough for him. It's everything. Hearing Mark Tauser and Brian Bulaga talk about that, man, how they, that was kind of, if I remember correctly, I think that was a little bit of a knock on Bulaga coming out in the draft was his arm length. So yeah, it's everything. Whoever can connect on that punch first typically has the upper hand, especially on straight arm rushes and things like that. So yeah. There you go. Let's see what else we got here. William D. Lofton Sr. might be the coolest damn name on YouTube. Good to see you, sir. Love it. He says, that the Packers draft O-line in the later rounds. They sure hit on them, man. There's no doubt about that. Somebody asked me this question the other day, William, on Twitter. They said, when was the last time we took a tackle in the first round? And the answer, if I remember correctly, and you guys correct me if you know it as a different answer, I believe it was Brian Bulaga in 2010, and then the very next year they took Derek Sherrod. Now you guys know Derek Sherrod shredded his knee. Not that he was going to be a great player. Obviously, Ted Thompson seen something in him to use a first-round pick on him, but he shredded that knee and he just never could really recover from it. Brian Bulaga obviously went on to be a great tackle, but it's a valid point, man. They don't. It's when you look up, Emilio, and you go, okay, 2011 was the last time we took a first-round tackle. I mean, you're talking about, 13 years ago?
Yep.
So that's a great point, William. It is.
Right. Because we got lucky with a 4th, 5th-round pick.
That's the thing, too. If you didn't hit on Bach, and they hit on Bach right around the same time, I believe. When they hit on Bach, that's when they said, hey, this dude's a stud. They got him in the 4th round. And they kicked Bulaga to right tackle is the way I remember. I could be misremembering that, but I think that's
right.
I think that they went Sherrod the next year. Sherrod's knee got shredded, and it was either that year or the year after when David Bakhtiari got drafted. And yeah, because David Bakhtiari spent 12 years in the league, I think. So it should have been the year after they took Sherrod or the year they took Sherrod. They just happened to absolutely nail David Bakhtiari, who, if I remember correctly,
didn't he have short arms?
His RAS was bad, if I remember correctly. It was like, I want to say it was 6 or below, right? But obviously his footwork, hearing Mike Wall talk about David Bakhtiari, he's like, Clay, he does everything good. He's mastered his craft, right? So, yeah, great point there, though, William. Appreciate you swinging through. Let's see, Magic in the chat says, we need some tough attitude players. It's everything, man. And that's the whole thing, like with Caleb Williams. Man, it is a firestorm right now on Caleb Williams. Like, guys, I don't care what anyone's, I'm not even going to get into the whole sexuality thing. Like, it's 2024. We're all beyond that. People can be the person they want to be. I'm not saying that he is different in that regard. I've pointed out from the beginning that I can't think of another quarterback who was so kind of into himself and drawing attention to himself in college that panned out in the league. Like you guys seen, they cut the video earlier today, right? And someone was filming it, and he said he held up his fingernails and see, they're clear or whatever. And then he went on to, I think he screamed, your girl likes it or something like that, and ran off, which was funny. Yeah, I got you. But could you see Donovan McNabb saying that? Could you see, Peyton Manning, let's go to the all-time greats. Peyton Manning, would he have said that, right? Tom Brady, those type of guys, right? C.J. Stroud, a perfect example. C.J. Stroud came out and just absolutely lit the league up last year, right? He's one of those quiet leaders, doesn't draw attention to himself. He's a leader in the locker room. Immediately people say, oh, it ain't going to affect the locker room. Okay, go ask 5 football players, hey, how would that go over in the locker room? And I'm telling you, if they had a daddy soda or two, they're going to tell you the truth. And they're going to be like, yeah, he's going to catch hell in the locker room for that type of stuff because you're a rookie coming in. His teammates have already spoken out. I say his teammates like he's already been drafted to Chicago. But 2 of his teammates have already spoken out in Chicago, right? Jalen Johnson was one like, hey, leave that Hollywood stuff out of here. That was his, like, I need to pull up the exact clip. I'm pretty sure that was like, pretty accurate quote, like leave that Hollywood stuff out of there when you
right. Like, yeah, you can't bring that into the NFL game. You need to earn your respect around here is pretty much is what I think it was saying.
Exactly. And Magic in the chat, this is exactly what I'm talking about right here. It's the first one that comes to mind is Manziel, another Manziel. That's what it feels like to me. And dude, he may come in, be just a straight shooter and light the league up and be the best team leader ever. But if you're going to spend that kind of draft capital on a number 1 pick and go, okay, this is our guy to lead our franchise, and you're not in the back of your mind going, is there any red flags here as far as like him being a me guy? You know, the last one, someone pointed this out. A buddy of mine earlier today pointed out, said Cam Newton was like that, and he had some success. And I was like, I don't remember Cam Newton being like that in college.
Right.
Yeah, he stole a laptop and threw it out of a dorm window. I got you. I remember that. But I don't remember him. If you talk to anybody about Cam Newton, they loved him in the locker room. So much so they had to get rid of him in New England when it was time for Mac Jones to take over, because they knew the locker room would be divided because Cam was that kind of leader. Yeah, maybe Caleb will end up being that. I just kind of don't see it on the surface, you know. So I don't know.
He's gonna have to show up, right? He's gonna have to show up and prove it.
Absolutely. William in the chat said that's why I think the Packers are going to draft defense in the first 3 picks. That wouldn't surprise me either. Again, the offense was a top 10 offense last year, right? If there's a place you need it, it's on defense. And I'll just say this. I'm not trying to be negative. I'm not trying to speak this into existence. But if this defense comes out and they take a step back in points allowed from last year, right? We give up more points this year than we did last year. We've really got to reevaluate how we draft on defense, because you're going higher AS, you're going for these athletic, all this, especially in the secondary, like outside of Ja, we pointed that out. They haven't hit on another DB other than Ja. I mean, it's so long.
Mm-hmm.
You can't call Eric Stokes a hit, that's for sure. I mean, I'm not even talking about the injuries, Rashawn Gary, a huge hit. Some would say Kenny Clark is. I think I would put him in the hit category for sure. But when you're looking at the secondary and how you're drafting, it's just not panned out, man. We've seen them pass up on people like a Brian Branch, right?
Yep.
Not try to position yourself to grab guys like that where it's just kind of a scrappy defensive back top player. Again, I hope we come out and have a top 5 defense. But if we don't, we've really got to step back and go, all right, man, something's a little off on, because we have spent a ton of draft capital on the defensive side of the ball, man, for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah. I can agree with that. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, man. My bad.
Prince in the chat said, when was the last first-round pick on an O-line that wasn't a tackle? Off a little bit of searching, I don't know if this is correct, but off the Packers website, 1994, Aaron Taylor, guard, Notre Dame, number 16 overall. I wasn't even born.
There you go. Hey, and that stuff matters, man. Precedent matters. And people go, oh, that's a different front office. Guys, Ron Wolf in 1994, Ted Thompson worked under Ron Wolf. Ted Thompson is a Ron Wolf disciple, right? Brian Gutekunst was a Ted Thompson disciple. They still think like that. Sure, they put their own spin on it, and they change a little bit from time to time. But I guarantee you, they're looking at those numbers too, going, hey, look, we've done just fine with offensive line in the past. We don't have to spend a first rounder there. Could be the case, man. It could.
Oh, here we go. Oh, okay. Let me just roll this back real quick. 1993, Wayne Simmons, linebacker, Clemson, first round, number 15 overall.
Who was this now?
The Packers picked up Wayne Simmons, linebacker out of Clemson. I was just flipping through, so it's their first round picks over since 92 or whatever. I was just flipping through, seeing what our options were, but we have taken another first rounder. It's not just Quay's, not just Quay.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Wayne Simmons they said he was a madman. When you talk about attitude, people were talking about, give me, who was it? Magic said it. Magic in the chat said, give me football players over stats warriors. That was Wayne Simmons. That dude, he was one of those guys that when you hear players that played with him talk about him, they're like, yeah, that's one dude you didn't F with. You did not mess with Wayne Simmons. That was just a madman on the field, off the field too. But let's see here. See what Donald says in the chat. What's a realistic time frame for giving the defense a runway to get the new system down? I don't even want to comment because it's just Emilio. It was Dom Capers' fault. It was Mike Pettin's fault. It was Joe Barry's fault. Now it's like, okay, let's give it 3 years. Okay, now it's Jeff Hafley's. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think you got to do it now, man. I'm not saying they should fire Jeff Hafley after 1 year. You guys know I was on the train of like, hey, look, the Joe Barry defense got better. It was still bad, but they did improve from the year before. I think they probably will take a little bit of a step back, but for those fans that expect it to get better, I don't think it's unrealistic, right? to want to get better. There have been coaches that have come in and fixed the defense in 1 year, right? They come out and it's just the defense plays completely different. The thing I think we're going to see from Jeff Hafley is the secondary isn't going to sugar too much. And what I mean by that is they're going to line up where they're going to line up and they're just going to play ball. The thing that Joe Barry was doing was showing two on the shelf and spinning to one high constantly, right? And I think that's what the players didn't like about it was getting to their spots late. They couldn't get to their run fit in time. Now, Matt LaFleur would disagree with that, and he did all year long saying Pittsburgh plays a too high run fit, and they're getting to their spot just fine. So I don't know, man. I'm not going to be screaming fire Jeff Hafley if the defense takes a step back, but you can bet your rear end there's going to be a good portion of the fan base that will be.
Right.
So I would say give it at least a full year, and then going into year 2, let's put a couple more pieces in place because, like I said last year, just because you've got first-round picks on defense doesn't mean it's a good defense.
Mm-hmm.
That always bothers me when I hear people go, this defense is loaded with talent. Okay, you're only as good as your last game. This defense has not played good. And what I mean by that is you can turn on the tape and see guys literally covering an 8-yard radius, no one around it, and they're just sitting in that spot. No one's going to convince me that a coach told them, hey, listen, here's the plan, guys. Look, we're going to play cover 3 spinner. I want you to stand right in the middle of the field. And I don't care if anybody's near you or not. Don't you leave that spot. You just stand right there.
Mm-hmm.
Wait. When everyone else is playing zone, half the field's playing man, this half playing country quarter spot drop, and I'm going, what are we doing? The coach didn't tell him to do that. Like, you can tell. That's the stuff you need high football IQ guys. And one thing about Peyton Wilson that I keep remembering, I was thinking about it today out there at work and thinking about what we read on his scouting report, them saying he's got a high FBI, high football IQ. That might be what we're missing, right? The fact that you couple that with that crazy athleticism he showed at the combine, albeit he was in tight shorts and, whatever. He didn't have 15 pounds of pads on and equipment on, a helmet on and everything. If he is a high football IQ guy, that's all I want, man. I think that's really, really underrated in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, look at what Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce do in Kansas City. I don't look up and go, wow, they're just so physically dominant. They're literally playing against quarters looks, and all they're playing in most cases is a dagger concept, and even they'll do like a reverse dagger concept, and it's essentially a choice route by Kelce. He doesn't have blazing speed. That dude is just he's going to the next level. He's reading the defense and just getting open. High football IQ is what it comes down to.
What the little Giants always say: 80% mental, 40% physical.
Dude, that's such a good movie.
It is always. I'm telling you, it's always about being able to process it. Right, like even when you're younger playing and you see the same exact play show up 3 times, like the same dude motions to the same spot. It's a screen behind the line of scrimmage. I just started calling it out. I was like, dude, this dude's running a screen. Then I got ear hold, got a concussion, but they took me out of the game. But it's like if you see that stuff, say it, right? It's right in front of you. Everyone's on, like, we're all trying to stop them here. Let's not like make it harder than it is. Asking the time of the time frame. I would think fans probably want it done by preseason, but first, second week. Realistically, like you said, at least a year, but hopefully trade deadline, they're at least moving in the right direction, getting it together. Defense doesn't take as long as offense to implement, but we're starting a brand new defense. So It's not like, maybe they played it when they were in high school, maybe they played it in college, but it's a new defense for Hafley to be, implementing on this team.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like, it's hard to look at the BC tape and go, okay, that's what Hafley's defense is going to be because he said it. College is totally different. The hashes are way different. The quarterback run schemes are way different. You got to play college defense totally different than you play the pros. And that's why we've leaned on the New York Jets and the San Francisco tape because he always refers to his NFL friends that he talks to, So it's like, I think he's going to try to bend into that 4-man rush on first and second down, top thing. Try to get pressure with 4 guys, play a little coverage, all that good stuff. So Dead Fish in the chat says, you were right about Brian Branch. We passed him, and now we have to face him twice a year as he is a line. Sometimes when you pass a player, you got to worry about who you're leaving him for. The thing about Branch is like we were in kind of a weird spot. Obviously, I would have been okay with them taking him with the 13 pick, right? And I say this, I love Lucas Van Ness. I think Lucas Van Ness is going to be a great football player. I think he showed promise last year. I really do. But who had more of an impact their rookie campaign, Brian Branch or Lucas Van Ness? Hands down, it's Brian Branch, right? Play the slot in their base defense. He could play safety. Could have used that last year. We really could have. But again, hindsight's 2020. He could have been a bust too, right? It's not like anybody's a slam dunk. It's just anytime you get analytics, statistics that suggest someone has done something better than anyone else in the history of the game, and specifically college football, like he had the highest tackle rate percentage of any player, including linebackers, any player in the PFF era was like, okay, this dude just done something historic. Oh, by the way, it's the thing our defense sucks at the most, tackling. You know what I mean? It's like you want to take that negative and try to turn it into a positive any way you can. But again, I think we're going to look up in 2 years and be totally fine with the Lucas Van Ness pick. And there is not a person under the sun that wouldn't have said Brian Branch was not worthy of the 13 pick, right? Like I said that way too confusing. I don't think many people would have agreed with taking Brian Branch at 13. I would have been over going, and I'd have been getting roasted on Twitter, but I would have been okay with it. I think the better scenario would have been to try to trade back a few picks, then grab him. Obviously, would have probably made the most sense. So that's kind of how I see it. Some people say, well, if you take Brian Branch, then you wouldn't have got Jaden Reed, you wouldn't have got these players. Everything changed, right?
Right. No, obviously. But Magic said it here: draft smarter players. That's it. I mean, you need that. You need to be able to process it, man. It happens in a flash when you're on the field, right? You do not have long to decide. So, I think that's it.
I like Mark Zambito's chat. He said, "Let's fire him now." Talking about Jeff Hadley.
Yeah, Jeff. Yep, get him out of here.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough. Oh boy.
Appreciate you, Deadfish. Thanks for clearing that up. 80% mental, 30% physical.
There it is. Yeah. All I can think about when I think of the Little Giants is the annexation of Puerto Rico. Man.
That was the best play. I think Matt's going to throw something like that in this year.
Come on, throw it in there, dude. Josh Meyer sitting there holding the ball.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. A.J. Dillon on the wing. Maybe we run like a little trap play, like it's a fake over to Jacobs, but he like kind of loops around and comes underneath and ducks under.
Right. I love it. This may be a little hard for you to see in here, William. He says, what do you think of Blake Fisher out of Notre Dame? Let's see if we can find him real quick on my big board. This is my big board. Again, it's a little bit.
Anyone from Notre Dame's got a star next to their name just because Clayton.
yeah, exactly. I want to know exactly where they're at. Now, let's see. He would obviously, I'm pretty sure Blake Fisher was a tackle, if I remember correctly. Let's scroll down here. He was a little bit lower on my board. He was kind of on that second wave. Yeah, here we go. I've got him in the 68 spot, William. Had a pretty solid 2022 campaign. 2023 took a little bit of a step back, I felt like. Of course, you may have those grades, Amelia. I may be wrong there. What were his PFF grades? Blake Fisher from Notre Dame.
So 2021 was 68.8, but he didn't play a lot. 2022, 72.9, 874 snaps. And then 2023 was 71.1, 710 snaps.
Makes sense.
They have him at 78. PFF has him at 78.
Currently. Got it. Yep. So the big board, the consensus big board, when I put my data in back in January, Blake Fisher was in the 92 spot. Okay. But the 33rd team has him in the 43rd spot. So he's worthy of the 43rd pick is kind of the way I look at the vertical draft board. But on my board, he comes out to 68. So that pick that we have, I used to have him up here. I think I still do, actually. Let me see if I got him in the draft.
As you're looking, again, we talked about this the other day. His average draft position back in what was this? So back in the summer, he was 40. Then he dropped all the way down to 120. And during the season, Christmas, January, by middle of February, he went from 120, jumped up to 70s. 70s, 60s, 70s, right? And
funny how that works, right?
It's wild. Middle of February.
He's sitting at home eating Cheetos, and somehow he just got
like, ooh, I just shot up 80 play. I've been waiting for that to happen.
Exactly. So with him being 68 on my, and again, my board isn't everything, guys. It's just the way I do it. I'm not saying it's the Grand Poobah boards. I know I say that all the time. I want to always put emphasis on that. I'm not trying to act like a draft guru. This is the way I build the board. I've been doing it now, kind of adjusting it as I go. Been doing this for over 10 years now, and it works really well for me. It seems to pan out really well come draft night. It's pretty accurate. But Blake Fisher, I got him in the 68 spot. We're picking in the second round at 58. I would be okay with them taking him with the 58th pick. With him being in the 68 spot on my vertical board. Now, it'd be really cool if he fell to 88, right? And he's sitting there. That would be cool too. So that would be my answer for you, William, as far as what I think of him. I've got him in the 68 spot. I would be okay with them using the 58th pick on him. But it'd be really cool if he did fall to that 88 spot.
But that's exactly the point, Clayton. You're talking 58, and we want him at 88. But the next guy down on PFF is Patrick Paul. So he's 12 down from him, but his trend's 22% to the Packers because he's landing right around in that 80-88 spot. So it's an easy pickup for a tackle. If we didn't get in the first two, let's grab one now. And it's just kind of how the board falls. It looked like he was going most of the time to the Bengals, but again, it's just kind of where your pick is, where it lands.
Yeah, and again, I've got him at 68, but the consensus big board currently has him in the 90 spot. So 88 would be probably want to try to wait till 88. If you do like Blake Fisher, and they may not even like his measurables, but anytime someone asks me, do you like this guy from Notre Dame? The answer is always yes.
They like his age they like his age, height, and weight. 21, 6'6", 312. I'm sure Goody's all about that.
Oh, you know it, dude. You know it. All right, cool. Let's wrap this big bear up here, man. This was a lot of fun. I appreciate everybody hanging out with us. I do want to give a special shout out here to our newest Patreon members of the PTA Posse. Appreciate y'all. We've got Jabin Tebow. We got Deadfish, who's now a member of the PTA Posse, and we got Trevor Anderson. So welcome aboard. We'll make sure we put your all's name in the drawing there for the draft night giveaway, the autographed Paul Hornady jersey. Appreciate y'all supporting us, and it's really cool to see the chat come together in Patreon. I'm learning how to work Patreon, and it's really cool. There's a chat in there that I can kind of put a post up on the day so I can ask questions and get the posse involved in kind of what are we going to talk about today, that type of thing. So really neat little setup there. I'm going to get the guys in there with us too. I'm going to get Emilio, Tim, Jacob. We'll get Carly in there as well. But yeah, so also we've got a bunch of people watching on X tonight. If you guys would click on my profile here on X, you'll see a YouTube link that'll send you to the YouTube channel. You can subscribe there. There's a lot easier interface on YouTube for you guys and gals to comment on there, but we appreciate y'all hanging out with us.
And if you don't like the YouTube interface, you can scurry on over to Rumble. It's right there as well. And
Rumble's growing, yeah.
Yeah, it is for sure. So
they got a smooth interface too. I was impressed. I was kind of hesitant, like, what's this Rumble thing? I'll go over there. It's pretty clean, man.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. It's smooth. You're right at the top. Your sub's right up there. It's nice. Yeah. Deadfish, appreciate you doing the research. I'm glad I hit it the first time.
After further review.
Yeah, it is 80% mental, 40% physical. I appreciate that.
Get a recount. There you go. So.
Recount.
Yeah, I got to hit him with it here. I got to hit Deadfish with it, but we really appreciate that.
Yeah. Oh, we didn't. No applauses. No, none of those sounds.
Yeah, Tim's usually got us lit up here, man. I apologize. We did a crappy show tonight without Tim, but that's
it's all right. It's just we were trying to listen to music.
I don't listen too much Taylor Swift.
That's right, Jordan. That wasn't on the menu tonight.
And for those of you asking, where's Tim at tonight?
Hi, I'm Date Mike. Nice to meet me. How do you like your eggs in the morning?
There you go. Tim and Jacob are out here on this Good Friday evening, date mocking it up, I guarantee. Not with each other, with their ladies.
Right.
I don't want to put out the wrong thing. You got to be careful. We don't want to get rumors started. But Tim is a happily married man, and Jacob is
happy man.
Jacob gets around. I used to refer to him as the most eligible bachelor in Packernet. So
that's probably not. That's probably I don't know. That's probably close.
It's still early. If you guys like this type of content, you can scan the QR code in the upper right. That'll send you to Packernet Podcast on whatever app you like to use as far as you get what you get your podcasts on. You're going to find a lot of cool shows on that network, the Packernet Podcast Network. You'll find this crappy show, but you'll also find Packernet Podcasts. You'll find Packernet After Dark, the call-in show where you can call in, leave Ryan Schlip a voicemail. He'll respond, answer your questions, react to your comment, that type of thing. It's an awesome show. And then we got It's Always Draft Season podcast by Jake Shavink. It's phenomenal as well. So
Speaking of,
there you go. Prince in the chat said, thanks all. Heading over to Jake's stream. Have a good night. Jake Shavink is live. Go get your draft information. Jake.
Send you off. Get over there, watch a little madness and call it a night.
Yeah, exactly. Jake Shavink over there doing the Lord's work on Good Friday. So there you
That's
go.
the truth.
All right, we're out of here, guys. Emilio, thank you so much for hopping on, man. Last second. This was a lot of fun, dude.
Definitely. Oh, no, I had a blast. Appreciate you always.
All right, man. We're out. We will see you all tomorrow. My plan is to do 2 shows tomorrow if everything goes as planned. So we'll do a morning. We'll do a Good Morning Lambeau. We'll do a PTA Live tomorrow night. I most likely will be able to do at least 1, maybe 2 on Easter. Not that you'll want to watch live, but that way you can watch it or you can listen to it on Monday when you get to work, that type of stuff. We'll have a little content for you there. We'll find something good to talk about. We'll continue to build the board out, try to find some of these late round gems and carry on as we get closer to the draft. So appreciate everybody hanging out with us. Thank you all in the chat. You are awesome. Thanks to the new Patreon members. Again, you just go to Patreon. You can click on the link in the description of this video if you want to join the Patreon group and get yourself entered into some of those giveaways that we do. We just try to give back to those who are supporting the channel. But everybody have a wonderful evening. Have a good Friday evening, I guess is the right way to say it. Yep. Happy Good Friday. Yep. And, we'll get ready here for Easter weekend. But thank you all for making us a part of it. We really appreciate it. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world. And go Pack, go.
The power sweep. Actually, it's the lead play in our offense.
Yes, a YN or a tight end to open up somewhere between 6 feet and 9 feet. Get an isolation with the linebacker. Tell the tackle to take the defensive end if he's over him. If he's not, to drive down on the first man to his inside. If the YN has the linebacker taken out, he cuts inside. If the YN has the linebacker in, he comes all the way around. If you look at this play, what we're trying to get is a seal here and a seal here, and try to run this play in the alley.